Welcome to the Property Mindset podcast, where I am Emma Howitt. I'm a mentor, investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. And remember, property isn't just about bricks and mortar. It's about building the life that you truly desire. And in this space, we don't just talk strategy, we deep dive into mindset, and something that I found is often really missing in a lot of other industries, but has been a real game changer in this professional property circle. So today I am talking to Reshma of Sitefindr. If you haven't heard of Sitefindr, do jump on now to the website so that you can follow through and have a look while we're talking. So it's Sitefindr, SITE. Finder, FINDR, so there's no e.co.uk/Emma Howitt. So do jump on and have a look at that. And remember, let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. Reshma, every property investor's dream is finding that perfect online site. But it often feels like we're looking for a needle in a haystack. But with Sitefindr, you have created something that is literally transforming how investors source their opportunities. So what was the light bulb moment that inspired you to tackle this challenge?
So, Hav and I, my partner and I, we our background is in estate agency. So we started in our early 20s in the estate agency into the property world, and it started off with architecture actually before then, which we sat down together. I remember the moment in a car park. Sounds dodgy, doesn't it? Not so dodgy, but we're in a car park. There was a beam of light coming from like the street light. We were brainstorming kind of everything that we like about architecture, what we don't like about architecture, and then we thought, okay, the overlap here is property and people. We love both those things, and it led us down the estate agency route. We had no idea what we were doing, and it kind of just stumbled across everything, and slowly but surely we find ourselves going down and taking on board our own investment properties. 15 years later, after having done a couple of our own projects and built up all that kind of experience in the estate agency space of investors and landlords and sellers, it's a hard grinding world, but it can be very rewarding. And we started looking into deal sourcing, and we thought, okay, there's so much going on in this space where people are struggling, and there's a lack of trust in deals, and people say it's a deal, it doesn't stack up, it's not working, and it's losing investors' trust. So we thought, okay, how can we bring in our 12 years of estate agency experience to kind of transform the way people are doing things, almost try and bring back quality into that area so that's exactly what Sitefindr does. So we sold off our lettings and management stock and rebranded as Sitefindr, so that every deal that gets uploaded is qualified before it goes out to investors. So that kind of led us to creating this platform.
Wow, I have to say, there's a few things that are revolutionary, but I would put you guys and so Sitefindr and Property Filter as well as something that is completely, I compare it to my phone. Literally, I compare it to my smartphone as having changed the way people can do things. I mean, the amount of time saving, exactly as you say, the trust. You are literally the whole package, and we'll go on a bit more about that. But yeah, I want to just thank you guys for making that leap and moving forward. And you are incredibly generous with your time with people as well, so that's really great. So let's just sort of take a bit of a step back. So architecture, estate agency. So let's just step into your sort of your own property investing. How did that sort of come about? What did you do? What's that journey been?
So the way it was very mistakenly fallen into it all, really. So we, we were managing people's portfolios and small investor portfolios as well in Croydon. That's where it all started, really. And we lived in people. When I mention Croydon now, people say, "Oh, sorry about that," but when we lived there, it was, no kids, no responsibilities. It was quite nice living in the town centre of Croydon, very easy commute to London. But anyway, so when we had managed these landlords' portfolios, there was kind of really nice, Victorian large properties, high ceilings, beautiful characteristics, and we knew each and every aspect, every corner, where there's damp, where the problems were, because we'd maintained these properties for so long. So we said to our landlords that we developed good relationships with, that look, when you come to sell, let us know first, we'll see what we can do for you. And we started off very small. So one of them actually came back to us and said, actually, you know what, Reshma, we're thinking of selling this now. What do you think? Do you want to take it on? And we thought, oh my God, this actually we didn't know. Yeah. What do we do? So yeah, luckily, also we've got family members like my dad and Hav's parents and stuff that have been in property for a while. So we had people able to direct us from a young age as well, which was great. And we've got properties in the family that that Dad used to get us into when we were younger too, so that helped. And we took on our first 1 to 2 bed conversion. That's where we started. So, super easy. Hav's best mate at the time was a builder, so we thought, okay, go on, get him in. He did a good job for us, so we used him, and we literally repeated the same model throughout in that same building. Did it 4 times.
Wow. 4 times.
Amazing. Yeah, in one block. So because one landlord sees what you're doing, they all see it, and then they're like, okay, well, I want to sell. Who did you use? Actually, yeah, Have and Reshma, they might have a look at it. We'd sold that one, made about 70 or 80,000 in the flip, because there's by the way, 1 to 2 beds are amazing. They're easy, but it was a bit easier for us as well because we also lived in that same building. We were one of the directors in the share of the freehold. So, it's easier when you're negotiating, getting people to sign off on things, the other freeholders and stuff. So obviously that's something to bear in mind. But I do believe that there's really good margin and very little headache in 1 to 2 bed conversions, or 2 to 3, renovate, reconfigure slightly. And then we just started doing this everywhere we bought. So we would never buy something that was already done up. We'd buy a 3 bed, pull it down, renovate, reconfigure some walls, turn it into a 4 bed, extend it out. So that was the start of the journey. And then being in the estate agency world, luckily you're in the middle of the market. You're getting given all sorts of opportunities to you as you grow and establish yourself. So I think where it was the turning point for us that really led us into sourcing was we got a phone call from a what they call the repossession agents or something, yeah.
Oh.
And they'd had the keys to 2 sites that were probate sites, and they asked us to go and do a valuation on it. So we'd gone down to see it. It was like a bungalow on Croydon Road. I remember it really well, actually. It was a bungalow, completely dilapidated in the middle of a large plot of land. And we thought, okay, we can either look at doing this project ourselves, but we don't know anything about, the planning restrictions, the access, there was like a listed site next door to it and stuff, what the implications would be on that. It had some trees that had been there for a while, and either you get into that. It could have been very lucrative if we'd done that, but do we want to get into it all? Or we had a very good investor that used to come every Christmas, offer us chocolates, and he was there in our faces all the time, which was the right thing to do because we thought of him straight away.
Yeah.
And we said to him, look, we've got this site. Do you want it for this much? So he'd agreed to a higher amount. We knew we could get it for a lower amount. And it still made sense for him. It was still a great deal.
Yeah.
And what we'd managed to do was exchange with his money, complete with his funds, and make a good 90k profit within a month or 2.
Wow.
And that happened twice with the same investor. So that was really transformational for us. We thought, okay, that is super easy. We hardly did anything. But I think the key in that was having someone ready and lined up. But again, we knew nothing to what we were doing. We just had an amazing solicitor that did know what they were doing. So yeah, I think that's the long answer to how we got into investing.
I love it. And it seems from a mindset perspective, you said that you've already, the family already in property, your parents, your dad show, you grew up with that kind of thing. So was that kind of, in your subconscious almost that you already had this kind of confidence that other people in your family had had the successes of it, and you'd always kind of thought that that would be the route that you were taking? How did that sort of grow from there?
So if we look at it from the background family, I've got a very split family like that in sense. Mum's side of the family is very risk averse,
Oh, wow.
very risk averse. So if she passed away when I was 25, so that was a very difficult time in our lives,
Mm.
and it came, before marriage, before having kids and everything. But I think she always preferred me to go down the architecture route, something stable, consistent, consistent salary, that kind of thing. She would have preferred me to go down. But
Yeah.
she always did push my creative side as well. She liked that. But it was dad that had he's a chartered accountant, but he was also dealing with or kind of supporting small to medium businesses, helping them grow, helping them scale. And he had that awareness from day dot. So that mixed with the accountancy and his own kind of portfolio that he had with several other partners, he saw that come out as I met Have. It kind of evolved even more. He had the same sort of mindset. And yeah, I think to answer your question, I think there was, even though there was that kind of risk versus confidence in kind of pushing forward with everything, I think it was exciting for me. I think it was exciting. And don't get me wrong, like I'm making it sound like, oh, it was all, peaches and cream, and it really wasn't. It really wasn't. When we first started the estate agency, I remember days of sitting there crying because we couldn't get the landlord's property rented out, and it felt like disappointing other people. And the worst feeling for me is knowing that I've not met somebody's expectations or I've disappointed, that was really enough. But you you kind of learn resilience. I think property teaches you resilience better than anything I've known. Um, and the more that I push, the more, once you do it once or twice, you build that confidence, don't you? And then you just want to keep going and going. It's almost addictive.
I love it. So that's a really key point, isn't it? That, there's always going to be things that don't work, go wrong,
Mm,
but inherently you've picked up on something where, the biggest thing for you is if you've disappointed someone, you can't, you said you're going to do something and then you've not been able to do it.
mm,
But again, you didn't just go and hide under a stone and, oh, it's terrible and this is not for me. You really pushed on, you've found solutions, you've moved on, and you've created this into even more of a business now. So hats off to you. I think, it's really great.
thank
So
you.
this sort of property, we can sort of start to see how this is all evolved here. Now, obviously, when you started, you weren't married, but now you're married with two beautiful children.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yes, two
too.
beautiful children, young children as well. Um, and so obviously you're now working with have your partner.
Mm,
How does that work? I mean, one, that's, your life partner.
mm,
You're in a really fast-paced business.
mm.
How do you guys work with that? Because that's really, especially with the young kids, you're going to be tired. How do you work that?
I think it's a really good question. Because I think with Have and I, because we went from good friends to relationship to marriage, it's been a very, paced out, sturdy, long-term building. We didn't rush into anything. So we at the beginning when we first we were dating, we were together, and we started business at the same time, there was a lot of stepping on each other's toes. You don't you think that breathing down each other's neck. Oh, you should be doing I should do, and you realize over time that actually um you appreciate each other's strengths. I think that's, if
Nice.
you're going into a business with your partner, firstly, you really understand that the only person. I know this is sounding really soppy now, but it is really true that I think if you're going into business, you don't want to do it with anyone else apart from your partner, because you're both heading in the same direction. Your goals are both aligned. You both get it. You know, you get the workload, you get the stress, but it's so important to get each other's strengths. And I think over time, it took us a while, but we did understand that that is the way to do it. Like for anyone that gets Wealth Dragon, you know, the wheel where you know where your personality lies. Like he's covers this side of the circle and I cover that side. But our
Amazing.
core, the what's the word I'm looking for here? The value
Mm.
is overlapping. So we have the same values in business and in life, but our attributes and our strengths, our skill set are completely opposite. So that's how I think we work well together. And I wouldn't want to work with anybody else in this partnered in the same way. Yeah, it works. It works nicely. Yeah.
Well, that is a real testament as well, because you do hear, don't you? So I've had a mentee recently who went to a networking event and she said, oh, I've met a business partner and we're going to go off and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And obviously, you know, you have to talk gently around these things. And I sort of said, but, you know, would you have, you know, married your husband, you know,
Mm,
after the first date? And she kind of looked a bit shocked. No.
mm,
I said, well, you know, it's the same with any relationship because as you say, like you're actually with your life partner, you're married to that person, but it
mm.
is as big as that, isn't it? With any kind of relationship and especially a business partner, you are
Yes.
basically married to them. So you've got to be really careful. So the way you described it is we started as friends and then it grew from there. I mean, that is an
Mm,
absolutely fantastic basis of a
mm,
relationship, understanding each other. And then when you talked about the two different sides and your strengths, I mean, that's, you know, that's really good. And then on top of that, for me, it's about having this joint goal, this alignment, the same values, because otherwise, I had a business partner once, you know, a fabulous person. Separately, we were great people, but together, one of my highest values is learning. And
mm.
there's, it just was not important to them at all. So it became very fractious because I'd be learning stuff and wanting to implement it. And they'd be like, oh no, we'll just take it as it is. We'll use our intuition. And I'm like, oh, what? So it's, you know, it's really key to go down that route. So I think, yeah, I think that's it's really great. So do you now have very specific, you know, roles so that you're actually not stepping on each other's toes? Is that how it's progressed?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about, you know, that we both have different strengths, we realized that from kind of 2 years into Appleton Estates, which was our estate agency, and have strength is in systems and you know, IT and infrastructure, all very, very important stuff, you know, the backbone of business. And my strengths are in kind of people skills, going out there, networking, um, bringing new affiliate relationships, all the rest of it. And I love all that stuff. It's very exciting for me. You know, that prospect of growth. I love that. So once we realize that, and you know, we kind of give each other a tap on the back, and you know, notice where we both flourished, and because we know that we couldn't do those other sides, you know, that we do
Nice.
rely on each other to build that. But I really like I really enjoy this exploring people's values, and I think my advice to anybody looking for, you know, to go into, you explained about your friend who was talking about going into business with people. And I speak to people quite a lot that are saying, okay, you know, I'm thinking of starting this business up with my friend. And you may have a really good relationship with your friend and you think, you know so much about them until you introduce the idea of business and you see a whole new different side to them. But I think, where was it that I read? There was a really good book. I wish I could reference it, but it said that everything is about the where value begins. So I think it was your thoughts. It was really powerful and it stuck with me actually. It was thoughts equals um, actions, actions equals words, words equals habit, and habit equals value, and it kind of just it's all kind of process to what leads to your, and then value equals what dictates your life as well. So I think it was just really beautiful that it all comes down to having the same values and the same habits as people. Then you can see what overlaps, and it's really nice to have opposite skill sets that complement.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm,
And I've certainly learned that the hard way. And it doesn't mean that either party aren't great people. It
mm.
just is that you're potentially not aligned, as you say. You might be great mates, but you're not great business partners.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really key. So let's just jump straight in for people who perhaps not as aware of Sitefindr, and just to let
Mm.
everyone know, that is spelt Sitefindr, but without the E in the DER, so
Just a bit
SITEFINDR
difficult.
.co.uk. So everyone can, I'm going to put links in the show notes as well.
Mm.
So yeah, just tell us a little bit more about the site, how it works, and definitely how it sort of sets itself apart from that kind of traditional other sites that may be out there.
Yeah, so Sitefinder is yeah, so it's a marketplace essentially. It's a marketplace that we created for investors and deal sources. So deal sources, let's just identify what exactly deal sourcing means. So for most, it's someone that sells a deal on for a fee, and that is what it is. But really, the whole world of property and property entrepreneurs starts with deal sourcing. It really is just finding great deals. Okay, so you find a deal. The quality of a deal sourcer is someone that understands how to negotiate and secure a deal, ideally direct to the seller. You can do this through estate agencies. They do because they already have the properties there, but it's easier when you've got the control with the seller. So you secure the deal with the seller, negotiate it down so it provides some sort of great investment opportunity for an investor. You've baked that value into the deal so that you can justify selling it on for a fee. So what we've done is created the platform for a deal sourcer to come upload their deal to it. It gets qualified, so it goes through our qualifications process. The deals that do qualify, we put on the portal, and it gets put out to our database of thousands of investors across England and Wales to purchase for a fee. So that gets split. Whatever we charge the investor gets split with whoever's uploaded the deal.
I love it. And what do you think are kind of your standout features of Sitefinder that you're most proud of? You know, how do you feel that they kind of empower the user?
So I quite like the fact that we have the qualifications, because investors, I spoke earlier about how there's a lot of, how investors have lost trust in this space. They hear the word deal and they're thinking, is it? Is it a deal? Is it going to stack up? Are people going to get their calculations right? So we've got a qualifications team that are, way better than myself to qualify the deals. They understand all the strategies, and I think investors really like that. That's why they put trust into it. They know that what we put up, I mean, we always tell everyone to do their own due diligence because everybody's different in their own ways on how they do stuff. But we're very transparent with what calculations go behind the scenes, and everybody really appreciates that. They know that, we understand. And really, for deal sources, it's a partner to help them get through everything. So, people can feel very lonely in the property space, but when you've got a partner that you can, like Sitefinder, that can help you, because a lot of people struggle. Where do you find investors? How do you talk to them? How do you build trust enough to sell them your deals? Will they pay your fee? Will they believe you when you say you've got a good deal? There's a lot of anxiety. So I think people like the fact that they can, partner with us. You put your property on there, we'll help you, we'll give you feedback. We don't claim to be mentors. We're not mentors, but we will give you some feedback on your deal, and tell you what we need more of. So that's the idea.
It's absolutely key. And I think you touched on something really lovely about talking about it being a bit lonely. And obviously, we talk a lot about mindset here. And quite often when you are perhaps at the beginning or choosing a new strategy, you are there with these massive doubts. Have I done it? Are these numbers really correct? Because sometimes you can go over and over. Like I've read a, let's say something that I've written, let's say an email, and I've written it, I've read it a couple of times, and then you get somebody else to read it and there's all these mistakes, but
Mm,
because you're so in it, you don't always see the wood for the trees, so to speak. So having that kind of partner to help with, putting through your information and, getting it right, that's kind of like, oh,
mm,
that's a great pat on the back. It feels like very much like a partnership to get it in, and you're there, as you said. And what's so lovely is to say, look, you've found this that's done really well. We need loads more of that. Go and do the
yes.
same. And
Yeah.
again, that gives that another emphasis on, gosh, now I can go away having alleviated those fears. I can take more confidence and then go and do even more. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an absolute win-win. I
So
just,
yeah, I mean, it's this the like you said, it's a partnership it's a platform that you can leverage as a sourcer to start creating an income stream that you probably didn't have before, or if you are already set up as a deal sourcer, you're already running well, you've got your investor base, then actually it's scaling up those sort of businesses as well. So helping them do things double time. So you're leveraging our database of investors, you're leveraging the support of the sales progression team to push things through for you. All the vetting of the investor, because Lord knows that takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
yeah.
So it's you do as long as you've got the skill set of from the deal sources side, it's really knowing how to negotiate with the vendor and securing in a good deal. Then the rest of it is done by Sitefindr and the team finding you the investor and moving it on to payday. And a lot of deals fall through at the sales progression side if it's not managed properly. So yeah, it comes again into leveraging help with that whole side as well. And for investors that are looking for a good deal, the idea is that you're buying something which has been qualified. You can see everything that goes in behind the scenes to why we think it's a good investment. And we practice what we preach, like if we don't think it's a good deal ourselves, we wouldn't have put it on there. But we can't buy everything, and hence Sitefindr. And we do buy quite a lot that gets offered to us, but it has to fall in our strategy, our area, and within our budgets. And if it doesn't, it goes out to our other thousands of investors out there. But we do buy some things that get offered to us by our sources too. So yeah.
Yeah. And then the other side of things, which I think makes it again very powerful, is you have an element within Sitefinder where it actually talks through the investors, what they've got to invest and what they're looking for and the
Mm,
area. And I think that's really powerful because again, it gives that confidence, it gives that understanding. Oh wow, I wanted to look in this area. They're looking for HMOs. I'm going to, really get to understand that area. And it gives you the confidence because quite often people are so scattergun, aren't they? That actually it's fantastic to be able to have that opportunity to concentrate. And let's say you found that investor, a property,
mm,
they're likely to be wanting to potentially do that again, obviously through you guys. And
mm.
yeah, so I felt that was a really strong element of Sitefinder.
Mm. Oh, you mean the finding the investor bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think what works really well. We launched that because a lot of people were asking, okay, look, what do your investors want? Now, when
Mm,
you're working with thousands of investors, yes, we're holding data on all of them, so we know what every investor, in which area they're looking in, what ROIs they look for, um, what strategy and what their budgets are. So we hold that data on all the investors, but the best way to do that kind of almost bespoke source thing is have use the Sitefinder backend tool to search for the investor, look for them. Once you've got a deal, upload the deal saying this is specific for this investor. Does it work for them? But I found that way we've sold quite a few deals that way. But what I'm encouraging most people to do is don't worry so much. If you've got that way of doing it, perfect. Do it both ways. It is a question we get asked a lot. Shall I source for an investor or shall I just go after deals? Go after deals. What's your strength? What properties do you like to source? Which areas do you know really well? Go after that. Find a good deal. If you've got a good deal, there's a database here to offer it out to. So do
yeah.
both. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But one of the things when I'm sort of talking to my mentees is I always say, look, yeah, definitely we want to look at your gold mine area, but definitely go and have a look and see on the Sitefindr criteria
Mm,
who is looking in that area and what are they
mm,
looking for.
yeah.
Because if it's very simple, and especially when people are starting out, I try and make the easiest route to the goal. Do you know what I mean? Rather than making it
Yes.
all very complex. Oh, let's do a really complex mixed use commercial conversion. Oh my gosh,
Mm,
we just want to get some cash flow in, because
yes.
inherently, if it's just a very simple terraced house, 3-bed terraced house that's below market value for whatever reason, let's just go for that. And there are investors looking for it. Fantastic. This seems like a great opportunity to go and do it there. And yeah, that's what you have.